So obviously this is a response to the PewDiePie thing. No, I'm not defending him 100%, and yes, I will be talking about the Adpocalypse and everything like that, so just wait for that. Don't comment 5 seconds in asking me why I'm not talking about this particular subject. And this is a kind of impromptu response to Pyrocynical's video he posted a couple hours ago as well, because I only just watched that while I was kind of preparing to make this, and I thought I might chip in. This isn't me directly disagreeing with him in a big way or anything like that, it's just more just kind of bouncing my ideas off of what he said there. So yeah. That I'd like to start with here is I am operating from the perspective of someone who is in, a lot of people don't call this the anti-SJW community, but I'm gonna call it a community because it's just easier to say and I don't really care. But the reason that I'm saying certain things that I do, working in this community, there are things that you see every single day that relate to basically social justice. It's the sort of stuff that you keep tabs on because you're interested in politics and whatnot. So you are way more intimate with the overall opinions, motives, and views of the people in this community, and that's really what I'm basing my response off here. The reason that I'm disagreeing with a lot of people who are non-SJWs who are talking about PewDiePie is because they are not seeing this. And I don't mean that in a bad way, I'm not talking about it as in I'm somehow knowing more than them. I'm just saying it in the way of like, I don't really make videos in the gaming community, so I don't really know much about the gaming community in the same way as someone who does make videos in that community knows. So that's really what I'm coming from here when I say that. So the first thing I want to talk about is, I guess, the offense response, and the reason that I'm talking about this is because even though I'm not the direct target of the racial slur, I guess, I am often lumped in with groups that are around that area because I am from Africa and I grew up there for 10 years of my life before I moved over. I was born there. I am often lumped into these. I grew up hearing stories from my family members about going through the apartheid and the aftermath of that as well, so I've heard a lot of that stuff. And I get lumped into these same groups with African Americans and everyone who is kind of supposed to respond to that word in a particular way. And that's really where I'm coming from when I'm talking about the use of the word nigger and stuff like that. And yes, I will be saying it multiple times in this video because it's about that word. It is contextually fine for me to say the word nigger because I'm talking about it. So first off, I want to talk about, as I said, offense. And first I'm going to talk about my own perspective. I am just really frustrated with this idea that there's a group of people, like SJWs for instance, who are so, they believe they're so righteous about everything that they will be offended on your behalf. And I have gone through that multiple times, especially when people try and defend me from white people, where they think that white people have said something that they think is offensive, therefore I must think it is offensive, because how dare I think a different way than what they expect a minority to think. The same thing with being female, and it just shows how much of this everyone else is frustrated with as well. A lot of people who, as I say, are the direct target of the word nigger, like Some Black Guy, Paddy Politics, Red Pill Black, all of those African American YouTubers, have come out saying that they don't give a fuck about this word, and they don't really care about PewDiePie like doing anything wrong there, they don't care. Yet from the same people, SJWs, from the same SJW people who are saying that you should be offended by the word nigger because in every context it's bad, they are going and calling these African American YouTubers house niggers, coons, all of these sort of stupid things. That's really why I think that when you say stuff like this, don't apologize. Because you're apologizing to a group of people who will use the same word in an actually malicious way that they accuse you of doing it, even though you weren't doing that. That's why I think that you shouldn't apologize for that. The group that's trying to witch hunt him is the one that is using that on a daily basis in a malicious way against people who don't fall in line with the other colored people. That is really how bad it is. Let me give you a kind of example that isn't really in the race category, it's more in the gender category. Every single time that I say I'm an anti-feminist, and that's why I put it in the title, because I used to be afraid to call myself that. Every time I would say something that would be anti-feminist-like, I would get a bunch of feminists who regularly talk about slut-shaming and whatnot, calling me a male attention-seeking slutty whore who is only an anti-feminist because that's the only way I can get the dick. That is what I get when I say that. That's what a lot of women get when they say that they're not feminist, because they're not falling in line with what you should think. Because a woman should only think this way. This is the kind of thing that they think, and this is the kind of thing that you will get every day when you are in this kind of community. So when I say that PewDiePie shouldn't really apologize, I mean that if he genuinely wants to apologize because it's just like, oh, sorry, I misspoke kind of way, that's fine. But if he tries to apologize to the world because he somehow did something morally wrong, you are apologizing to a group of people who just want power over you because they don't give a fuck about moral. As I said before, they talk about how using this word might be morally wrong, yet they use it maliciously against people who seem to not care about it because they're not offended by it. So this does nothing but give this group of people more power over you. And this is the second point I was kind of leading into. Words are only as hateful as you yourself make them. And I am intimate with this idea as well because I did have a teacher in primary school who was very racist towards my friend and I, who were the only non-white people in the class. And yet I don't care about any racial slurs because I don't let it get to me. I don't give a fuck. I could have been a perpetually triggered, simpering person who just melts at any point, but I'm not. Because I might have cared when I was a kid, but I grew up. And now I don't care anymore. I had to deal with that teacher for years, okay? And I have been to towns in this country as well. I was living in a town that had like 1,500 people in it. That was really bad as well. I was very different for a lot of reasons, and I was reminded of that, but I got over it. Because I do not let those things have power over me. The word stupid used to be an official kind of term that people would use for people who were like mentally disabled and stuff like that. Now it's just a random insult, and if you say it to people, if you call people stupid, for instance, unless they're really, really offended at everything, they will kind of just laugh at you because that's one of the weakest insults you can really say. So what I'm getting at here is if you really want the word nigger to stop haunting you, you need to start getting used to the idea that it's there and that you could come up with any other insult ever. One of the arguments that I could make about Pewdiepie saying something and being pathetic is you could have come up with any other actually funny insult, but you just chose a random stupid word that's been heard over and over again. That is stripping power away from that word. That is saying that's such a stupid, overused word that doesn't even mean anything anymore. Stop it. That's dumb. And through stripping the power from that word, I'm also stripping the power from the person who's using it because I don't care. They're using it for a reaction. These words have gained power through use in the past, and in the past they were directly used from people who had power over you. But now, obviously, we live in a different environment. A lot of the people who are offended by this keep talking about white privilege, and I've told you over and over again, I don't care about that argument. A lot of people who are born in different areas have different sorts of privileges. For instance, if I was walking in my campus with a white person, and I walked up to people and said the white person was racist to me, and then the white person said that I was racist to them, people would believe me more, because the climate that we have is that white people aren't the ones who have racism happen to them. It's always the other way around. And a lot of hatred against white people is something that is normal now because of the PC culture. It's something that you can just do, whereas if you did it the other way towards a minority, everyone would hate you. So that's my quick aside on white privilege. But what I'm saying here now is things have changed. In the same way that when you say feminism, a lot of people, increasingly more people, are thinking man-hater, because that is honestly what it's become. In the same way that the word faggot has changed from a bundle of sticks like many people have used. And this is starting to happen to the word nigger. A lot of black people are using that word to refer to things in a kind of self-deprecating way, in a kind of way to make it their own word, in the same way that Milo Yiannopoulos calls himself a dangerous faggot. He's taking the word back. And part of taking the word back shows that you're not afraid if other people use it. So taking the word back does not mean that only you can use it, only you as a part of the demographic that is targeted towards can use it. It's you saying, I'm not afraid if anyone uses it, because I can use it too and not care. So, for everyone saying that only black people can use it, you are just inviting more people to use it towards you in a hateful way because you're not letting them use it. The only way to let the word become powerless is to let everyone use it and become desensitized to the word. That is what some people are not getting here. And again, this ties back to people who are being offended on this person's behalf. Like those black YouTubers I was talking about before. I've seen white people in the comment section saying that you should be offended because you're black, because you should think a certain way. It's kind of funny how mostly white people are offended at this. I know some people might think that that's not true. If you look on Twitter and stuff, I'll see this, again, a black YouTuber saying I'm not offended at this, and then a bunch of white people going, well, you should be because, and then some weird SJW reason. It's just really, really frustrating. And again, that's one of the reasons why I'm making this rant right now. Because if someone's not offended by something, then why are you trying to make them offended by it? Why are you trying to make them more unhappy? If they're like, oh, whatever, and then they just walk on, it shows that they're a powerful person who doesn't give a fuck about words, and you are here trying to make them be upset by everything. Make them fear the word again. You are the one who is making the word worse. A video published by V reacting to this had a lot of people in the comment section going, I'm gonna use this word more now because it's clearly offending people and I want a reaction. A lot of people were saying that in the comment section. So the more offended you're getting, the more the word's going to be used. And honestly, the word being used more is going to get people desensitized to it. So in that part, I am happy with the outcome of the word losing power, but you're not helping that by being offended. You are giving the word power. So in a way, you're the ones hurting people if you're getting offended by this. You're making the word a bigger deal, so when people use it, people who it's directed at are going to get hurt by it more with their feelings. So I think I've rambled about that enough. I'm going to quickly mention the Adpocalypse thing and then I'm going to move on to more on that subject. So people are blaming PewDiePie for the Adpocalypse. I don't know. Here's the thing. I think that being a kind of representative of a platform or being a really popular person does come with responsibility. I think that you have a certain responsibility, for instance, for say if you respond to a video, you should not say, go and attack this person. And then again, what it comes with as well, you will always have people in your audience who want to go attack that person regardless of what you say. So in that instance, even if you say, don't attack them, people are going to go attack that person. So there's a weird balance here where, in one hand, you should say stuff like, don't attack this person, don't do this, blah blah blah. But on the other hand, you do have no control over the people who like you and who follow you. So there's only so much that you can self-censor, is what I'm saying. A lot of people are saying that PewDiePie has the responsibility to not say words like this, but here's the thing. That's contextual. That is entirely with the context of what he is. If he was, let's say, an educator or a singer or something on the platform, then if he just randomly says that word out of nowhere, people will be like, what are you saying? You know what I mean? Then I would kind of understand, like, why are you saying that sort of thing. But PewDiePie is someone who is trying to entertain people. He is a comedian, in a way. And part of being a comedian is being offensive. Andrew Dice Clay and people like that were arrested for telling jokes. And, you know, I will never use the slippery slope argument for any other thing except freedom of speech, because that's really where it applies. Freedom of speech. Once you start censoring one word, why are you censoring that one word? You're treating one group as bigger than the other, and you're allowing that group to dictate language to the rest of them. And free speech wouldn't exist because we're not treating each other equally, where everyone can say what they want to say. And then the more you do that, the more you censor words, because there has to be a devil. A puritanical ideology such as SJW's has a devil. You have to have the devil, and when the devil is defeated, i.e. you ban the word, there has to be another devil, because you have to have more and more. Nothing is good enough. That is why these movements eat themselves, and that is why you should not apologize to them, because nothing is good enough. PewDiePie apologizing means that they can take that as they can step over him, so you will see more of this attack. Whether he suddenly becomes a PC person does not matter, because they won't leave you alone. A lot of people are angry at him about the Adpocalypse thing because they think that if he is suddenly PC, they will leave everyone alone. That is not true. If an ideology wants a specific ideological purity in discussion, they will take you down no matter what. If PewDiePie hadn't said what he said about the Jewish joke and all that sort of stuff, there would be another reason. They had already been going after the entire political anti-SJW community right off the bat anyway, because we exist. So PewDiePie was just a thing, but they tried to latch onto him to do that. If he hadn't said what he said, they would have found something else. So I think that maybe, yeah, he might have accelerated it a bit, but it was going to happen either way. Because we're dealing with people who aren't afraid to try and do anything to convince you that they should have power over you, and then they will keep taking more. So I think that apologizing to them is one of the worst things that you can ever do. A lot of people who also haven't heard of the article saying that anti-SJW content shouldn't be in the recommendeds because it's a bad, wrong thing. A lot of these people who haven't heard of limited state on video, they kind of have the impression that it's going to be okay. I don't think it is. People who run Google have shown that they're trying to push a particular ideology, and that ideology has a lot of purity and a puritanical kind of outlook to it. They have promoted, you know, all that stuff about being genderless and white privilege and all that sort of stuff on their Twitter. They've shown this, and this is proof that it will never stop. This drama dying down, it won't stop. People like in the Wall Street Journal don't give a shit about that. They don't actually care. They're not actually offended. They want control. The first thing you do to get control over someone's language is to act like you are being hurt by them, which makes them feel guilty. When someone feels guilty, it is an unpleasant feeling that they want to get rid of, and they will look to the person who they have apparently wounded to make them feel guilty as a way to stop them feeling guilty. The victim. So if you are a victim, if you make someone feel like they made you a victim, you will get power over them because you've convinced them that the only way to stop feeling the way that they do is to now do what you want to make you feel better and stop being a victim. Then you can get them to stop using certain types of language. When you stop using certain types of language, you stop using certain discussion pieces, you stop using certain opinions. When you control the opinion someone has, you control the discourse, you control the thoughts. You basically control the person. You control everything. That is what SJWs want. That is what every puritanical ideology wants. We have seen this all throughout history, and it's just happened over and over again with a different person wearing different clothing. It's the same thing this time. Comedians used to be arrested for saying this sort of shit, and they fought so hard to say these racial slurs as a way to make jokes about it. Pewdiepie was saying this as, you know, this is just a stupid insult rage word, and then after that he said that he shouldn't have used it because he didn't mean it in a bad way. That should be end of story, but it's not, because nothing is good enough. These people want you to crawl on glass to get to them, and then they want to spray salt into your wounds, and then they want you to talk about how much it hurts so that they can feel better. That is not something that a good person who just wants everyone to be equal and happy does. There's a vindictive, horrible person who wants you to know that they are better than you. And these are the sorts of people who are offended by this fucking stupid thing that shouldn't even be talked about in the first place. It was just a mistake that he felt he made, so he apologized. Why is this a thing? And again, I will be putting some Jordan Peterson interviews in the description, but this is what it is, and I hope that it will kind of get you to understand my opinion more. And obviously, I'm saying in defense of Pewdiepie because I'm kind of talking about this whole thing surrounding him. I'm not entirely defending him, because in this sort of thing, you shouldn't like hold someone up on a pedestal and be like, they did nothing wrong. I think that he's clearly having some sort of self-reflection and stuff like that, so good for him. I think if he wants to apologize because he feels like he wants to take his humor in a different direction, that's fine. But if you are just being forced to make an apology, I don't get the idea of public apologies, actually. Let's go this way. If you harm someone, you should make an apology to that person. Why are you making an apology to all the bystanders? Even if you are a public figure, if you signal someone out, make an apology to them. Why are you making an apology to everyone who just kind of watched it? Like, there was that thing that happened a while back where a musician person at this festival was removed from the festival because they were doing a southern accent to a black person who was their friend. And again, even though it was to a black person, some random white woman got offended by that, even though the black person actually came out and defended the guy and said it wasn't racist. And then there was like this expected public apology to people who weren't even involved. The person who was being targeted here was the black guy, and he didn't want an apology because he wasn't offended, yet there was still an expectation for everyone else to get an apology. Why? It's like watching this thing in public, and then you're the one who expects an apology, even though maybe the person who it was against didn't even care. I don't understand how it makes any more sense online, either. So, as you can see, this is a very kind of off-the-cuff response, and it's very rambly, because I'm very tired. I was trying to work on another video for this weekend, and I'm in the middle of doing a bunch of assessments for uni. I'm sorry I haven't been responding to comments lately as well, because my anxiety has just been through the roof. I don't know why. I just kind of curl up in bed and try and do productive stuff, typing out scripts and things, even though that doesn't really matter at the end of the day. I don't know. And I'm really happy that I don't have to rely on AdSense, and I never had to in the first place. The only thing that's saving me right now is Patreon to help me get through uni, so thank you for that, because I don't know what else I would do otherwise. So at least I understand why people are mad, and they're trying to look for an out and for someone to blame for the Adpocalypse, but yeah, that's my opinion. I know I probably left out a bunch of stuff, but I can't be bothered to really think about it right now. I'll probably respond to it in the next video I make. Oh yeah, and Ted Cruz likes porn. Toodles.